Look at the Illawarra side in full now. Fullback tonight is Brendan O'Meara. On the wings are Ryan Girdler and Alan McINDOE. The centres are McGREGOR and Rodwell. The halves are Fritz and Simon. The lock is Russell. The second row, Dunn and Cross. The front row is TEITZEL and WADDELL. And SCHIFILLITI is the hooker. Graham Murray is the coach of the Steelers. Very cold night. And the crowd appropriately clothed for the evening. Although, pleasingly, the breeze has dropped a little bit. Still very strong. Brett Kenny goes out now with the Parramatta Eels. 4 wins and 8 points in this year's Winfield Cup. And since Illawarra came into the Winfield Cup in '82, I think it's 15-1 in favour of Parramatta. Let's have a look at the Parramatta side now. And Scott Mahon is at the back. CRNKOVICH and OUDENRYN on the flanks. BUETTNER and Woods are the centres. Kenny and GALBRAITH the halves, and then the scrum is BLAIR at the back, King HORO, Drake, FEARNLEY and Flanagan, and Michael CRONIN is the coach of Parramatta. Referee for the match is young Kelvin. He got his stripes actually in the Parramatta Junior District Rugby League, and he's got the Eels running right to left tonight. They'll have the breeze in the first half. Had the match have started an hour ago, they would have had a gale behind them. Michael BUETTNER's going to kick off. Not to be taken lightly, the Eels, and I'm sure the Steelers have got that firmly in their mind as Rodwell comes back with the first touch of the leather. Ian Russell slammed there by the Parramatta defenders.
Right, interesting to note in this Illawarra team, quite a few changes in the back line. You see Brendan O'Meara at fullback. He has played on the wing in first grade. GIRDLER mostly in the centres. And of course, Rodwell has been the fullback. He's now back into his rightful position in the centres. So they have had a few chops and changes. That wind you spoke about, very important. Both teams can use it because it's flowing across the field.
WADDELL grinding it up towards the 32-metre line. John Simon, he clears as we go sideline for his first comment in the match. The big fella, blocker.
Well, there's certainly a lot of pressure on the Illawarra Steelers tonight. They're on 15 points and, you know, Parramatta can only be upsetting mild in this competition left, and I'm sure that Illawarra should be right on their game to win this game tonight.
Jane Flanagan is the dummy half for Parramatta. Chris King is the tall lad underneath that defence from Illawarra. I don't know that Parramatta will use their full set. They'll probably be inclined to kick on the earlier tackles. Unless, of course, they're making good ground with the football in their hands. John FEARNLEY plays the ball near the halfway. Flanagan kicks from dummy half. And this sends O'Meara back. He's also wearing the headgear. Out to the 22 for the restart. That kick gives you an idea of the strength of the breeze.
Ray, one thing that Michael Cronin in the Parramatta camp did say in the sheds before the game was nothing fancy in their own 22. Get out of there as quickly as possible. As the first mistake in the game is made by Brett Rodwell. Second tackle, that's what the Eels were looking for. And in fact, it's now been the Steelers that have made the mistake in their own territory. As we see here, a good pass, just his eye taken off the ball. And Parramatta feed.
He was entitled to catch that, Brett Rodwell. First scrum of the encounter. GALBRAITH, Kenny now, around BUETTNER and accepts the return ball. Woods goes nicely. He's inside the 22. 18 away from the line. OUDENRYN. Penalty to Parramatta right in front of the big sticks. This will be easy for Michael BUETTNER. Ellery Hanley.
As you saw a few plays back, you saw Shane Flanagan kick the ball. What a great advantage that is to be able to kick the ball from dummy half instead of throwing the ball back 10-15 yards and losing ground. And I've played with Shane Flanagan. He's got some good skills, and I'm sure that during the course of this game you'll see him kicking the ball from dummy half on a number of occasions.
Steve Roach.
Yeah, well, I hope that Illawarra don't underestimate this Parramatta side. They've under some very exciting and talented backs.
Michael BUETTNER will take the kick as Ian Russell and Craig TEITZEL look down the barrel of his line of flight. There's the flags and an indication of the strength of the wind, but believe me, it has dropped off. And now, as I watch the flags, more inclined to get across the ground. BUETTNER for first points. He accepts the 2, and Parramatta lead by 2 points to 0 after 3. So coming back to the halfway mark, John Simon, this talented young lad, gave State of Origin duty this year. The Eels, and they come back through Mark HORO.
Already, Ray, we've seen that you just can't afford to make mistakes in your own 22-metre line, as Mark HORO was hurt in that tackle. John Cross involved, he's at marker. Rodwell made the first mistake, and it's cost them 2 points as Mark HORO took the ball up from the kick-off. Good hit there front on from, looked like SCHIFILLITI. And HORO a little bit sick and sorry after that tackle.
The Eels coming out past their 22 line. Oh, crashing tackle by WADDELL on FEARNLEY. GALBRAITH clears. The captain comes back now, McINDOE. Uses O'Meara, slithers through one.
Well, he beat Brett Kenny. It was a bad tackle from Brett. He had a good shot on him, and now Ian Russell hits the fringe of the ruck in centre field, about 40 metres out from their own line.
You'd think by now that the players now at this level and this standard, that they know that you can't afford to give penalties away in the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the game, because the referees are going to be right on top of you, and you've got to stay squeaky clean.
Penalty goes to the Steelers. About 5 metres into Parramatta's area. RODWELL is the kicker, and he finds it midway, 22 halfway, the blue and gold's end of the park. TEITZEL goes up at what looked like a leisurely gait. SCHIFILLITI in the 9 shirt. Bill Dunn. Dunn playing second row tonight. I fancy we've seen him play mostly front row blocker in the matches we've done this year.
Yes, we certainly have. Illawarra played Balmain last week, and they lacked that authority up front through Chris Welsh's injury, as we said earlier. And it didn't surprise me they brought Craig TEITZEL into the side, who's a very big, strong, mobile player.
Here's McGREGOR, the rep centre, 20 metres away from the line. TEITZEL goes up, tries to keep the hands free. He does that. Now Simon on the left. They push it. He uses a cutout ball. O'Meara. Oh, gee! Scott Mahon could be in trouble here.
Could be in a lot of trouble here, Scott Mahon.
It's not the first time for him either.
Well, I'm sure we'll have a look at it here in a moment. There, Scott Mahon was coming across in cover defence. The referee telling him not to say a word. Certainly got a good shot on Brendan O'Meara.
Well, the Steelers seem certain to score. Brendan O'Meara is a very sick and sorry sight at the moment. Well, Mahon's going to get off it. Penalty goes to the Steelers.
This is the type of play you don't want to see on the football field. I mean, the game's hard enough, and I think it was a probably silly thing, and I think straight away the referee should have just marched him straight off the field and took control of the game immediately.
Well, it was a swinging arm and it was high, so Scott can consider himself very fortunate there.
I got a funny feeling Scott did time, did he not, for something that didn't look as dangerous as that?
Well, we saw Scott Mahon sent off in a game in Western Australia against Canterbury on a Friday night game that Channel 9 covered over there, and O'Meara's not well. Having said that, there's no malice in Scott Mahon to the extent that that was an arm that was left out. It did hit the man high. And unfortunately, we have seen a stretcher call for him. Brendan O'Meara now being helped on it. Blocker, I suppose a man who's had a few problems on the field. Well, you know, Scott Mahon is lucky to get out of that one.
Yeah, he certainly is. You know, there was, you know, in his defence, I think he was trying to cover 2 or 3 players when they broke through, and the fullback dummied, O'Meara dummied, and he just caught him on the thing. But it was high. I'm sure it'll be in the referee's report.
Well, that's exactly right. He was trying to cover an outside support player as well, and got caught in no man's land a little bit, but unfortunately Illawarra have lost a player here. O'Meara being taken off the field on a stretcher. And that's Brett Docherty about to come on. Played a lot of first grade this year, but very unfortunate for the Steelers early in the game.
Well, Brett Docherty goes on in jumper number 14. And young Brendan O'Meara comes from the field on the stretcher, having taken a high shot. The attempted penalty to be taken 22 metres out. Ryan Girdler, one of the top shooters in the business, but it's away this one, no score, and the Eels, they lead the Steelers by 2 points to 0.
One of the things I'd like to see, Ray, is the referees just waiting to see the player, what actually happens to the player, whether he does leave the field, and then making a decision and see what happens from there.
Well, I can't agree with that, Ellery. I can't see how it's like sending a player off, and if the bloke breaks his jaw for 6 weeks, that's different to maybe a swinging arm that missed. I really don't think that you can have the result of it having any influence on the intent that was involved.
Ian Russell, right on the halfway mark. WADDELL slammed back by the Parramatta defence. TEITZEL leading the hit-ups for the Steelers so far is TEITZEL. Simon folds across the back of two runners, and then it's with Dale FRITZ.
And again, Parramatta being caught out wide. They had a 3 or 4 men overlap there. Fortunately for Parramatta, they couldn't utilise it as John Simon kicks the ball, bounces over Scott Mahon's head. He's had to retrieve it, and a good chase from here will keep Scott Mahon in the in-goal area.
Mahon pegged by McINDOE. Line dropout will see the Steelers with another fresh set. Stephen Roach.
Yeah, I think Peter Sterling just talking about Parramatta getting caught on their right-hand side of the field would have something to do with Cameron Blair, who's been playing in the second row all season, and he has to get on the fringe of the ruck if he's going to be a lock forward. And I think he's been caught out there a lot.
So the line dropout from Michael BUETTNER. Coming on down to John Simon. Going back is Brett Docherty. He played in the reserve grade match tonight. Illawarra won that game 32-10. The President's Cup went to Parramatta by 12 points to 8. TEITZEL runs decoy. WADDELL goes up blindside. Penalty goes to the Steelers.
Well, the Eels were a mile offside there on the blind side of the ruck. I don't know whether it was enthusiasm or just some little bit of tiredness in not getting back, but the referee was in good line there. And we'll now see another conversion taken by Ryan Girdler to try and even these scores up.
Girdler has chosen to bring it back to the 22-metre line for this penalty shot. 15 metres in, as you can see. This crowd, you know, is amazingly big for a night that is so damn cold. And it's further proof that these people down here, they love their football, particularly with their team going well like they are in 1992. Most of the stand areas are packed, but even the hill on the far side, which of course flanks the Blue Pacific, it's fairly well populated on the far side of the ground. There it is there. Cold with a capital C. Ryan Girdler wearing the number 2 tonight. What's he scored? 7 tries for the year, and he's kicked 30 goals. None from one so far, but oh yes, he's got it. Did a little bit of a dipsy doodle, but he pleases that fan, and 2 points all after 10.
Well, he stroked it well, Girdler. He kept it low, started to get away and just took the inside of the post. Up go the flags.
A little bit reminiscent of Jason Taylor's vain attempt to snatch a victory late in the match for West today with the drop goal hitting the upright. John Cross. Now, we talked about Girdler scoring 7. So has Cross this year.
Hillary, some fine young talent out here, the John Crosses, the Ryan Girdlers, some young players. As the coach of the Leeds club in England, are you doing any scouting as SCHIFILLITI gets out of dummy half? Any scouting for the club at all? Keeping an eye out maybe for some potential players?
Well, Peter, the first problem we've got there at Leeds is that we've got a number of overseas players there, and we're only allowed 3, and all them spaces are filled at the moment. Until the rule changes, we were not allowed any other players.
Well, let me ask you this question. Would you like to see the rule change? In other words, would you like to see the amount of imports enlarged?
Well, it's a real touchy subject there, Ray, because the thing is, we've got to make sure that our talent's coming along as well in the British game as well.
The crowd roars as Scott Mahon comes away from his end goal. They want a little bit of revenge on Mahon. CRNKOVICH trapped with the ball, but the penalty has gone to Parramatta. That's against the markers not standing immediately in front of and immediately behind each other in the play of the ball.
But there we see John Cross to the side. He was the second marker. It's going to be a tough night now for Scott Mahon. Every time that he's touching the football, the crowd is reacting. So he's going to have to make sure that his mental toughness is good enough to be able to keep that out and concentrate just at the job on hand, and certainly not let outside influences affect his performance.
I don't know that we've heard the end of the Scott Mahon tackle on Brendan O'Meara. That will wait until another day. Away from GALBRAITH, and FEARNLEY hits the line, but the Steelers are meeting them on the ad line. GALBRAITH again for King. Chris King, he's a good young player, got a high work rate. Brett Kenny. Woods came onto it well. BUETTNER did well. HORO a dummy half. He's completely recovered from an earlier shot. GALBRAITH. Oh, that's miles too big. Well, he's on new turf just about every day he runs out there, isn't he?
Well, he is, but that doesn't mean that the grounds are any different. You've got to kick away from the sidelines. We see an Illawarra player injured here. It's Craig TEITZEL holding the hand. He looks to be in a bit of trouble, a fair bit of agony on the face. But a poor kick there from Stu GALBRAITH. Had to go to open spaces and just tried to cut it too fine. Now they're in trouble inside their own half.
Number 40's going on for Illawarra to replace Craig TEITZEL.
That's David Walsh. Ray, as John Simon wins the ball from FRITZ out to McGREGOR.
Paul McGREGOR plays the ball. FRITZ gives it away for Russell. And they're 15 metres into Parramatta's territory blocker.
Yeah, just want to pose a question to Peter Sterling. It was interesting to see when Parramatta had the ball in their last set of 6, they were running off Stu GALBRAITH. Now that puts them back at least another couple of extra yards. I think they'd be better off hitting right off the dummy half and on the advance line, especially when they're coming out of their own half.
Well, I think like every team, Lockie, you're probably trying to get a little bit of variety there. As again, another 5-metre penalty against Parramatta. This is almost in front of the post, and well, it's not a gift 2 points, but the way GIRDLER is in kicking form this year, he shouldn't have too many problems with this. But I think you've got to probably mix it up a little bit. Sometimes hit off a pivot, sometimes just hit the man on the advantage line. But even hitting the man just on the advantage line, have some decoys going up the other side, and I don't think Parramatta do that often enough.
Kelvin Jeff's calling Brett Kenny across to tell him about his side's consistent infringement of the 5.
And there's Brett laying down the law, making sure that the players know that, especially as Ellery Hanley pointed out, you've got to be back early in the game, 6 or 7 metres, a metre behind the referee, just to make sure that you're not costing yourself points or ground.
I think Parramatta as well will be ruined this penalty here, because with the kick going straight out, they found themselves almost at the 25-yard area instead of being at the other end of the Illawarra.
Ryan Girdler with 1 from 2. 20 metres out, almost in front. Keeps it low, but he's missed it. He's hooked it too much. No points for that. And 2 points all after 16 minutes. Some good news coming out of the Illawarra room is that Brendan O'Meara may come back onto the field. They're giving him another 5 minutes before making the final decision, but apparently he's made a fairly rapid recovery. Dunn goes up, wrestling with the Parramatta defence. HORO eventually winning the day. WADDELL, got plenty of skill, Steve WADDELL. Big Tennis, of course, follows the football. Tackle number 4 is gone.
And they'll go wide. Chris King is caught out wide, and they've got numbers again as Ian Russell forced back inside. Fritz has put the ball down, but Chris King caught very wide there in the second row, and as Steve Roach pointed out, some of the back rowers getting caught out from the Parramatta team. Fortunately that time for the Eels, they turned the ball back inside, and Fritz came up with the mistake.
Looked as though there could have been a chance that Fritz actually caught that ball before it hit the turf. Kenny baiting across the ground, picking up Woods, it is, the centre. Now they're back in the centre of the ground. Fearnley.
And this is where I'm talking about not having options both sides. We'll see Greg Drake take the next ball up, but no one going through on the other side. It must go to Drake or the dummy half running himself. No option on the other team, so the defence can handle that.
These are, I think, one of the things as well is that, you know, if you're hitting the ball up one off the ruck or whatever, you've got to hit the advantage line, because with defences being so tight nowadays in Sydney, you know, the ground's scarce to make nowadays. So, as I said, you've got to make sure you hit the advantage line.
Parramatta now looking for a favourable bounce.
Well, they got the favourable bounce and unfortunately weren't able to come up with it from the scrappy piece of play. Chris King, it was Chris King, couldn't come up with the ball, and Ian Russell now working it out from his 22. But a good opportunity there for Parramatta. The ball bounced okay for them. Chris King certainly had that one covered up, and he's just lost it cold.
Sideline, Steve Roach.
Yeah, just talking on that, you should have decoys around the ruck, because it doesn't put any pressure on the defence, and you're running up. The game's hard enough without running one out, without any decoys for yourself.
Parramatta beat the Steelers last year at Parramatta Stadium 18-16. And Peter, I think the Steelers remember that match very well, because I think it cost them a place in the 5.
Well, I'd say they were probably looking at after the kind of season that Parramatta had last year. You could not afford to be beaten by a team that finished well down the ladder. As it turned out, the Steelers just missed the 5, and I'm sure that was 2 points that they certainly rued missing going towards their premiership total.
Just going back to that head-to-head statistic that I gave you, these sides in Winfield Cup have played 16 times, and Parramatta has won 15 of them, and at the Steelers Stadium it's 6-1 to Parramatta. But all of that will mean absolutely nothing when these teams file from the ground with the Winfield Cup points in their purse, whoever it might be. Mahon, he's got a very big boot on him, but I'm more convinced now as I watch the flight of that ball that this wind has either gone across the ground or turned around a fraction.
Well, it's certainly not a problem for Illawarra. We've seen John Simon, even though they appear to be running maybe against the wind a touch, Simon has kicked the ball quite long tonight. So, as I say, it's going across the field more, not really going to be a problem for the kickers distance-wise.
SCHIFILLITI's got a problem. King the tackler. Now, David Walsh has got ahead of Steve. 10 metres into the Eels territory on 5. Simon rubbing ahead. Rodwell was a mile offside. He won't come inside the 10. OUDENRYN tries to put some pace on. John Simon wraps him up. 15 out from the Eels line. Mahon throws the long ball, and this is CRNKOVICH. Cameron Blair. 2 former Magpies out there tonight for the Eels. Cameron Blair and Shane Flanagan.
One of those is actually down on the far side of the field. We'll see him come into the shot shortly, because he's right next to the play the ball area. And well, there's a penalty again. There you see Flanagan getting attention in the background, but another infringement in the play the ball area. And Steve Roach, a lot of penalties early in this game.
Yeah, certainly. It's ruining a good game. This is a fast open game. You know, I just wish that they'd let it get on with the game.
I do think sometimes that the 5-metre rule, a lot of times the penalties are going when the players are a long way away from the man actually about to receive the football. So they may be a touch in front of the referee, but they're still 12 metres away from the man carrying the football. I can't see why the game can't flow under those conditions.
I got a feeling that Pat O'Doherty might be going to take the field here. That would mean that HORO would go to hooker. Oh, that was a big shot on Scott Mahon. The ball shooting free, and the scrum to go down 5 metres on the Parramatta side of the halfway. Here it is, GALBRAITH with a short pass, and Mahon was picked up by McINDOE. Fritz, Rodwell. That's a very good tackle by Scotty Mahon. Russell, he chimed into a quick play the ball. 8 metres into Parramatta's territory. Brett Docherty's up at 5'8". Or in fact at first receiver.
Flanagan in a lot of trouble out there in behind the ruck area. Parramatta will need to get him off. It's a good tackle there, ball and all by Brett Kenny. Stop the momentum of the Illawarra team. Flanagan could get caught out in defence here because he is struggling on one leg.
WADDELL. There's nowhere to hide on a rugby league field, is there?
I've spent plenty of time looking, Ray. I never found one.
Simon's able to stand and offload. There has been a deficiency in the Parramatta defence. So SCHIFILLITI puts it out on the full. The deficiency I was going to talk about was they're not really cleaning the man with the ball up.
And there's the man you're talking about, Pat O'Doherty in the 49. About to interchange with Shane Flanagan. Looked like a cork for Flanagan. Is OUDENRYN getting out of dummy half.
I think what's happening as well, why the game's been punctuated so much, it's not just the referees stopping the game stop-start, it's also that both sides are getting numbers in the tackle and slowing the ball down, and it's not been able to allow the game to flow.
Well, that really is the game over here at the moment, Ellery. You've got to slow the opposition down. Cameron Blair slips over. You let any team over here get some momentum, you're going to pay the penalty. So you will see a lot of penalties throughout the season awarded for holding players down.
BUETTNER kicks, and there's Docherty taking it on the feet. Runs into the shoulder of O'Doherty. This ground has been cut up. Bob Millwood, the chief executive, was telling me that the gridiron people had the use of the ground a couple of nights ago, or a couple of days ago, and they've really churned it up. I mentioned Wimbledon to you. You've got a huge night of sport coming your way on the 9 network. The ladies' final, Steffi Graf versus Monica Seles, follows the football. That is the beauty and the beast, isn't it?
Well, it's the 2 best women players in the world.
I was talking about the football and then the glamour of the tennis.
I thought you must have liked one of the tennis players more than the others.
Turn it up.
It is a replay of the French Open final, of course, 10-8 in the 3rd set. And I think we'll see a similar game tonight. Scott Mahon tackled on the 22-metre line. And Steve Roach, not much in this game up to date. Probably Illawarra have maybe enjoyed a little bit better field position.
Yeah, Illawarra have enjoyed the better ground territory, but really good to see Pat O'Doherty getting a run for Parramatta tonight. On all reports, he played exceptionally well against Brisbane last week, and I got a big rap on him.
Greg Drake plays the ball 32 out from his line. Kenny on the blind, kicks ahead for Woods. Bounce of the ball, bad for GIRDLER. Now there's a chance. Towed ahead by CRNKOVICH. Could be a penalty here. Kenny looked to be held off the ball.
Well, they've got to let it go right through GALBRAITH. He's got Mahon outside him. Well picked up by Scott Mahon. But that's allowed Illawarra to get back in numbers now. Mahon trying to step up the middle.
22 metres away from the line. Dummy half GALBRAITH out to Greg Drake and now to Pat O'Doherty. Oh, gee, Russell. He put what looks like a Cumberland throw on him. Didn't the big man go down?
Be a fair dent left out there now. That was a Steelers throw, that one.
Never mind about the gridiron boys chopping it up. There is a hole and a half that Pat O'Doherty's left out there.
They'll put a bomb up here, Ray. GALBRAITH will be the man the ball will go to, and he'll go high.
There he is with the little kick over the top of the 3/4. And trapped in goal is Brett Docherty by Brett Kenny.
Well, that's as good, but let's have a look at this front-on tackle. Ian Russell, great. You used the momentum of the man there, and that was fabulous. What about John Cross has got the boot in the side of the head? He won't be happy. But Ray Price there, reminiscent of his days with the Cumberland throw, and gee, that was a hit, wasn't it?
It sure was. I think I should point out that as long as the hands come in contact with the player before the legs, it is not considered to be the dangerous Cumberland throw. Blocker, you used to perfect this yourself.
I never did. I remember one day Ray Price said it to me at Leichhardt Ale. They're still trying to fill the hole.
There's been a few vacancies left by Steve Roach. John Fearnley. Now the Eels are 15 out at 2 points all. Centre of the ground, good place to be. GALBRAITH Cameron Blair back for the little Kiwi. Shut down by Russell. Last tackle coming for the Eels. Scott Mahon decides to use the air. OUDENRYN came rushing in. That'll be it's a 22 place. He indicated a line dropout, but he was wrong.
Well, let's have a look at it. He's taken the ball in the field of play, I believe. I think that it should have been a line dropout.
Yeah, I think you're right when I watched the replay, Pete, but he did point for a line dropout.
He did indeed, and changed the decision. Well, maybe he did consult the in-goal touch judge there, but it did look as though from the replay the ball was taken just in the field of play.
David Walsh plays the ball. Now, Rodwell's in the clear. OUDENRYN has brought off a beauty. The Steelers have got a roll on, though. SCHIFILLITI for Russell. He goes back inside. McGREGOR puts it down. Well, Lee OUDENRYN. He put O'Fire away and then he put Rodwell away. Tremendous pace, Fritz. The Steelers buoyed on by the crowd. Simon with a long ball over there for Billy Dunn. Pressure for Parramatta. Simon kicks for Rodwell. Cleaned up by Parramatta in goal.
I think Parramatta did pretty well there to get back, and they regrouped very quickly, and they seem to get players behind the ball and defend well. I think now you'll find that they'll take the time now behind the post before this long kick out here.
And good work there from Mark HORO, the second row, to get back and save that situation with the little kick. But it didn't take long for the Illawarra team to go from one end of the field to the other. Now Parramatta need to defend. And
Billy Dunn! He's been given one right on the chest, and he's put it down.
On the chest, it's hit him in the head. I think it's hit him on the head. Blocker, could you see that one?
Yes, hit him right on the noggin, mate.
Right on the melon, as Fatty would say. A great header by Billy Dunn, but it doesn't help the Steelers. Well, they've weathered some kind of a storm, Ellery.
Yeah, I think Parramatta will be relieved with that. It's diffused the whole situation, and Parramatta can now just come away and work their way back up the field.
Steve, if Parramatta have looked dangerous out there, even though they haven't enjoyed the field position, I've been impressed with the work of the two centres. BUETTNER and Woods have looked very dangerous.
Yeah, I certainly have too. You know, look, Parramatta, you've got to take your hat off to them, Blakes. You know, at least they'll try a chip kick or a little grubber through, and they try and add a few dimensions to the game.
HORO is a dummy half now with Flanagan off the park. Woods works with Mahon and then Blair, and now back for HORO. So they're back to where they started from on this particular play. GALBRAITH looks for Drake. 40 metres out from the Illawarra line. 2 points all. This is the last tackle for Mahon to kick. Docherty across. OUDENRYN coming through very quickly. He makes another good tackle. McINDOE. It was, in fact, McINDOE that put Rodwell into the hole. McGREGOR! Oh, the pass was down at the feet.
I think with 8 minutes to go, I think the Parramatta coach, if I was the coach of Parramatta, I think that he'll find that he'll be very pleased with that the scores are still level.
Scoreline is 2 points all after 31. GALBRAITH to work this scrum. 12 metres into the opposition half. And lucky not to have made the New Zealand 17, in my opinion, Stu GALBRAITH. Kenny, he kicks for his centre, BUETTNER. Docherty might have to hurry a bit, but it's gone over the touch in goal, so it'll come back to the 22.
No, that's a breakdown of communication there. That was a kick on the second tackle. Unfortunately, Lee OUDENRYN was out of play. He's the man that they need chasing these. BUETTNER certainly hasn't got the speed of an OUDENRYN, and you see OUDENRYN in the background there just walking. Second tackle, you can't afford to do that.
Steve Roach.
Well, I know all the raps have been going on Paul McGREGOR all this year, and rightly so. He's played well from this New South Wales State of Origin side, but there's a bloke named RODWELL who's just come back from injury for the Illawarra Steelers, and he's a great centre.
That's him with the ball now. There comes the ball again, and Kenny swoops in on it. He's grasped 33 out.
And they've set to go wide straight away. Buettner has moved into first receiver. Cameron Blair hitting outside Galbraith.
Galbraith pops up a short one. Cameron Blair can't handle. And the Illawarra Steelers come up with the ball through Paul McGREGOR.
And again a mistake on the second tackle for Parramatta, Ray. Firstly the kick, now a mistake from Cameron Blair. Losing the ball, just hitting it up as SCHIFILLITI throws the little dummy. Again a good 3 or 4 metres burst up the middle.
John Simon has gone into dummy half. And Bill Dunn, with his composure back after that embarrassing failure to take that kick off.
I think now there's only about 5-6 minutes to go. I think Illawarra is starting to find a few gaps there, and they're stringing out 1 or 2 good passes together, and Parramatta have got to be on the ball now to make sure that they keep this Illawarra side out before half-time.
Russell turns it inside for McGREGOR. It goes further in field for Dunn. He's tackled right on the 22 line. 5 gone for the Steelers. Will they bomb or will they grubber? He holds it up in the hands, gets it back for McGREGOR. McGREGOR gets it back for Simon. Simon turns it for GIRDLER. Knocked down by Parramatta, that's a penalty.
Well, it may have saved them a try, but the hand was put in there by one Parramatta player and it was cleaned up by a man in front of him. Here we see Illawarra keeping it alive on the last tackle. Some great work from McGREGOR. John Simon, the reverse pass back to GIRDLER. There's David Woods getting in the road. It's cleaned up by Chris King. He's offside, but 2 points might be better than 6.
I'm sure that Parramatta will be happy just to accept that they're going to go 2 points down probably at half-time.
A little bit of running repairs there for Bill Dunn. Now Brett Docherty's going to take this kick, I note. Whether Ryan GIRDLER sacked himself or whether Captain Alan McINDOE decided that a change was necessary. Brett Docherty is waiting for this gust of breeze to settle a fraction. We could be waiting a long time, Brett. Good striker of the ball, this boy, Brett Docherty. Australian rules background. Came from down in the Murrumbidgee irrigation area of New South Wales. You can see the Australian rules talents come out in the man as we watch him play rugby league. Now he moves in, but he's made a mistake. It's gone well wide, and Parramatta make a mistake in goal. Then they stand and look at it. Well, shoddy piece of play there by Lee OUDENRYN. Here's the kick. What I want you to watch is they knock on and they stand and look at it. And down the ground came Dale FRITZ. Blocker Rhodes.
Well, it's been all Illawarra in this first half. I'm just a bit worried that they haven't scored. They've had plenty of opportunities. The team that scores first in the second half will win this match.
Ryan GIRDLER. A long run by GIRDLER. 32 out, not held. Comes back towards the centre. John Simon. Steve WADDELL. He's almost cracked them. Simon backs up. Simon stands. And this is the area of the Parramatta game that I was critical of earlier. They might be stopping the ball carrier, but they're not cleaning him up. Walsh puts it down. Stu GALBRAITH will play it 10 metres out from his own line. Mahon. The Steelers have had plenty of shots at goal, and it's reasonable to think they could have been anything up to 6 points in front coming to the break. Cameron Blair. 30 metres away from his own uprights. Mahon kicks from dummy half. It's a big kick. Docherty goes back 20 out from his line. Gets through Mahon, but picked up by BUETTNER. President's Cup repeating went to Parramatta. Here's a big break by McINDOE. McINDOE with a big run, but eventually rounded up by Scott Mahon and also David Woods. Simon through FRITZ. McGREGOR carries the ball. 30 out from the Parramatta line. David Walsh. Simon. Waddell goes back inside, looking for the hole behind to play the ball. 5 gone. SCHIFILLITI. Grubbers ahead. Parramatta, I think, have made the mistake. They have. It's play on. Waddell. 5 metres out from the line. SCHIFILLITI. Simon. That was a good tackle. Cameron Blair had to be made. Russell shows it, goes himself. 2 metres away. Ryan GIRDLER. John Simon. Cuts out Fritz, picks up cross. Now it's McGREGOR. 10 metres from the line. Dunn. SCHIFILLITI. Ball played by Fritz. They go back, pumping away at the blind side. RODWELL. Cannoned by the Parramatta defence. Play in the scoreboard corner. And the pressure comes off Parramatta. But haven't they had some to contend with? Parramatta rucking it away. Probably for the last time in the first half. CRNKOVICH coming in to take a bit of load away from the forwards. Now it's the turn of Pat O'Doherty. I think I mentioned 2 Magpies in the Parramatta side, make that 3. Since O'Doherty went onto the park, Galbraith's kick is marked by McINDOE. McINDOE back to be confronted by BUETTNER. Blocker said it earlier, Illawarra's had by far the better of the first half, but they haven't converted opportunities into points. John Cross. Well, what's the referee going to do here? He says play on. Simon. Inside for Cross. This is the last tackle now for the boys in the red. Simon. Parramatta coming up with it. And GALBRAITH is injured. This was the incident. Little chip and chase by John Simon. He may have got his head on John Simon's knee. He's still down, so I don't know that he was foxing for time. Blair plays it on the 22 line. CRNKOVICH tries to work it out. There's the siren in the background. It's acknowledged by Kelvin Jeffs as Greg Drake takes the final play. And at half-time, on a big night of sport on the National 9 network, as far as the league's concerned, it's Illawarra and Parramatta at 2 points all.
He did have a man outside him unmarked. Brett Rodwell probably would have scored.
Yeah, I think he would have scored there, and it was just unfortunate that he should have let the ball go, but I think he thought he could have made it himself. And
Force, there are the first half statistics, 2 points all, and really I suppose the outstanding ones are the missed tackles. 13 from Parramatta, 7 for the Steelers, and the line breaks, well, 6 to the Steelers, 2 to Parramatta, certainly have shown that Illawarra have had the best of the first 40 minutes.
Second half of the action about to get underway. John Simon will kick off. Penalties are 4-3 to the Steelers. Simon sends it into that corner and gets the mistake. Or did it come off Galbraith?
No mistake there, but a good kick-off, and certainly it's going to take a lot of ground off the Parramatta team, who would have been looking to ruck it out. Someone should have called for this football and called on the full, but at least they didn't touch it, so it will be a Parramatta feed.
Scrum close to the Parramatta line.
it's the kind of start that Illawarra would have been looking for, and they'd be very happy to be right down in the quickest quarter of the field where the money is. And, you know, if they can just keep them penned down here, they'll be quite happy about that.
There's been a replacement made in the Parramatta team, Ray. The number 24 at dummy half now is Bill Greentree.
Anything to report from the sideline, Steve?
Well, as we said just before half-time, Illawarra they've said from their room they've got to score first. Also, they'd like to see Brett Kenny be watched because he's a man and the playmaker for the Parramatta side. He'd like to see them, he's very happy with their ball control and their field position. He just, as I said, he'd like to see them score first. But in the Parramatta room, he'd like to see the Illawarra Steelers being slowed down and turned on their back a bit. They're getting up and playing the ball too fast. He'd like to see them put them on the ground also.
Cameron Blair.
Some good ball movement early by Parramatta. Mark HORO is the man replaced by Greentree. In the last tackle, Galbraith kicks across. OUDENRYN might catch this.
He does, Peter. He sprints inside the quarter. Can't beat them, though. Docherty showed him the sideline. Turnover of possession. Rodwell brings it 10 metres out from his line.
That was try time, that. OUDENRYN outside his man. Tried to put the step on. I think if he'd have just kept going straight, he might have scored in the corner, but just cut infield.
Bill Dunn. St George versus Penrith tomorrow. It'll be there for you tomorrow night from 6:30. John Cross now. He brings it 35 metres out from his own line, Steve Roach.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry there for a bit of inexperience there from OUDENRYN. He hasn't been in the game that long. I have to agree with Sterlo. If he'd have took him on, he'd have scored in the corner with his pace.
CRNKOVICH.
You talk about inexperience, Steve. I remember a few games ago against North Sydney. He was criticised for not taking the man, or stepping back inside, was taken over the sideline in that game. So maybe that was in his mind. But I think with his speed, I think he might have just got the ball down in the corner. So a let off there for Illawarra. Now Greentree out of dummy half, trying to get out of their own territory.
Mahon. Doherty. Bill Greentree at dummy half. Chooses to work the blind side to John FEARNLEY. FEARNLEY put down in a joint tackle by FRITZ and WADDELL. GALBRAITH. He gets his kick in. It rolls down for Docherty. Back inside his own 22. Away from Cameron Blair, who comes from behind to make the tackle. David Woods over the top.
And that was a very dangerous kick for Parramatta. They kicked to the side of the field where they didn't have a winger. You can see Michael BUETTNER making the tackle. Nobody outside him. CRNKOVICH hurt 60 metres downfield, and they've decided to kick the side where they're a player short.
GIRDLER. He plays the ball 30 metres away from his line. WADDELL easily over the advantage line. Parramatta did not come up on that play. A cutout ball, second man play. Russell tries to make the incision. Reaches the halfway on 5. Simon. OUDENRYN folds back to support his full back. In fact, he's got all the work to do. But what a bounce for Illawarra.
Well, the things a rugby league ball can do. Great kick there. CRNKOVICH coming back, and look at that. 90 degrees, side kick to the side, over the try line. As we see the touch judges come on to have a chat to the referee, and it looks as though Ian Russell is the man being spoken to. I didn't see the incident. I don't think it'll go any further. Well, he's told him to keep it down, so there must have been a high tackle somewhere in the last passage of play.
I think this game's going to be broken. I think Ian Russell, a player of his calibre, is going to be the player to break the deadlock between the two sides.
GALBRAITH. O'Doherty. Bumping run, good yards. Almost out to the 22 line. Drake got a ball away for Greentree. 30 metres out now. Parramatta doing it tough. Rucking it out, FEARNLEY. Good tackle right around the midsection by Cross. WADDELL came over the top. Charge down on Mahon's kick. That's play on. Now OUDENRYN. He kicks over the head of Docherty. Docherty and OUDENRYN. Docherty can't clean up. Was it touched by Illawarra? I'm talking about the player in an offside position. The referee says no and rules a knock-on.
Well, again, OUDENRYN looked very dangerous. In fact, if he'd have probably gone a little bit closer to the fullback before putting the kick over. There's the charge down straight to OUDENRYN. If he'd have gone closer and made the bloke wait a little bit longer, he would have scored. He gave the fullback Docherty too much time to turn, but he still got past him. And, well, very close. At least it's a Parramatta feed. A great attacking opportunity as Blair takes it out from a lock position.
I think once again there, you saw the winger going down the touchline side, but I still think he had the run previously in his mind and that he wanted to do it earlier.
Ball played by O'Doherty, spread away by Greentree, taken in and gone to ground is Fearnley.
They've all come back to the right. Kenny's looked for Woods and Mahon coming out wide.
Slow play the ball, it's let the Illawarra side get set. Galbraith for Kenny and coming onto it and being grasped is David Woods, 2 metres out. Greentree again, they fouled with a decoy from right to left. Galbraith shows it twice and Chris King has tackled with the ball. 5th tackle gone for Parramatta. They look for the first try. Kenny goes for it. Kenny comes down a metre short.
Well, he signalled that as the 5th now, so they've got, this is the final tackle as it goes back to Galbraith. In back behind, not a good kick there, cleaned up by Brett Rodwell. The pressure's off.
If you didn't know the positions of either of these sides, Illawarra or Parramatta, you'd think to yourselves that both sides were vying for the top 5 in the playoffs.
Parramatta, Ellery, it's worth pointing out they have had decisive victories against Penrith and maybe not so decisive against Newcastle, but they have served sufficient warning that they're not to be taken lightly.
I also think, Ray, that one of the things here in the Sydney League over here is that the bottom side and the top side, you know, the result can go either way. That's how intense the league is over here.
Scott Mahon didn't get much help from Danny CRNKOVICH there. They were badly in need of a call, one to the other. CRNKOVICH now.
Well, these are really dangerous situations. Nobody talking. Fortunately, CRNKOVICH saw that Mahon was coming across. It ended up being a very good take from Scott Mahon in the end. But Parramatta again, well, they're on a roll here. Fearnley taking it up the blind side. They're starting to make some good yards. And Illawarra having to do all the defence early in this second half.
8 metres into Illawarra's area. Galbraith out for Kenny. No semblance of a back line, really. Now, this is the last tackle. Mahon, he kicks ahead. It's probably a deeper kick than was required. CRNKOVICH is coming fast, but GIRDLER beats him to the punch. No markers for GIRDLER. Pat O'Doherty covers plenty of ground to make a good tackle.
GIRDLER did some good work there. I mean, he realised that there was no marker there in that situation and that he'd tap the ball and make some good yards till his forwards got back onside.
Well, he nearly had to tap it forward. There was no dummy half either. He did it that quickly. Illawarra now taking the ball out, and Rodwell is getting involved in this game. He's made a couple of busts and he's really done a lot of good work up the middle of the ruck as well.
They notice number 18 is out there for the Illawarra Steelers. Replacement out there for them. Another fine kick. And the score remaining after 49 minutes, 2-2.
Well, the kicking again being very important here because it allows you to play good field position. Some great kicks early in this second half from the Illawarra team, that time from John Simon. And of course the kick is going to be instrumental in maybe in scoring tries. In the test match last night, both Australian tries resulted from little kicks through. And we may see that happen again tonight to break up these defences.
Andrew Pauls is on in jumper number 18 for the Steelers. McINDOE is off the park.
Well, there's a mistake. Michael Buettner losing the football. Now Parramatta under pressure.
Bill Dunn. Dunn slammed into the ground, 8 metres out. SCHIFILLITI a dummy half. WADDELL. Parramatta's defence again under siege.
And Ian Russell, the man to watch. He's outside Simon.
Simon for Russell now. Holds it back just that fraction before giving it to McGREGOR. The line is only 5 metres away for the Steelers. GIRDLER for Simon. Kicks ahead for SCHIFILLITI. Parramatta got a hand to it. GIRDLER away for Russell. Now McGREGOR. McGREGOR tackled again. 5 metres out from the line. Russell. Simon. Fritz. Fritz. He tries to do it. Greentree gets an arm. 10 metres out from the line. Simon for Dunn. Dunn goes hard. There's the first try. Billy Dunn gets it for Illawarra. He puts the icing on
Well, they were pounding away, Illawarra, and finally it was one missed tackle that made the difference. That was Scott Mahon, who bounced off Bill Dunn. Did have a good shot at Dunn and just, as I say, bounced off. Here we see they come left. Simon picks up Dunn. He takes the defence on. Scott Mahon comes in and just bounces off. Galbraith dives too late. That's a very crucial try.
As you saw there, you know, the thing is when you're in defence in a tight situation like that, in your own 25-yard area, you've got to make sure that you pin your man, because the space between scoring the try line and you run into it, you know, there's not that much room, and it's very vital. As I said, the man should have gone low on him.
Parramatta, they are given just a little while to think about it. Bill Dunn, the try scorer. He's toiled hard, he deserved the 4 points. Ryan Girdler is back on as the kicker now. Head-on shot of the kick, and it's got 2 points. So Illawarra, after 52 minutes, lead by 8 points to 2. Neil Pincinelli goes on in jumper 41 on interchange. The number 8 has come off for Illawarra. That is Steve Waddell.
I think the next time Illawarra get down there, I think their next job is probably to go for a field goal and get the 1 point and make themselves safe, or safer, should I say, and be 7 points clear.
Steve Roach, once again, it shows just how missed opportunities can change a game. Probably Parramatta had a couple of great scoring opportunities based for Lee OUDENRYN, yet as soon as Illawarra get down the other end, they've run the try in.
Yeah, they certainly did. You know, as you said, Parramatta had 2 scoring opportunities, but as we said just before half-time, I think the side that scored first in the second half will go on and win this game, and I think Illawarra will be very hard to beat now they've got their tails in the air.
Walsh tackled on the 42-metre line, or should I say the 32-metre line. This is Pincinelli now. 5 tackles gone for the BHP Steelers. They lead 8 points to 2. Simon's kick taken by OUDENRYN. David Woods. Blocker, can you find out for me the problem with Alan McINDOE?
Yeah, I'll certainly try, mate.
Parramatta now, Ray, looking to get the ball into Brett Kenny's hands as much as possible. He's the man that has got to take the defence on. He will attract a couple of defenders, and if he can do that, it takes a little bit of pressure off elsewhere. So Kenny is the man out there that really has to get involved. Here he is kicking the football, and that bounces up for Brett Docherty to field on his 22.
Kenny makes a copybook tackle. Docherty plays the ball. Rodwell does the run around with Dunn. OUDENRYN makes the chase and the tackle. This is McGREGOR. Yes, Steve?
A report on Alan McINDOE. He has an injured shoulder and he won't be taking any more part in this game tonight.
Russell now. SCHIFILLITI. Cross. He would be leading the side now. He'd be the captain in the absence of McINDOE. 5 gone. And Simon just clears the arms of Galbraith, and CRNKOVICH has had about 7 goes at it. I think you'll find this will be a Steelers feed.
Well, why he had 1 go at it, I'm not quite sure. You know, you just don't take chances in these situations. The ball was away from his body, let it go over the sideline. He certainly got mixed up there, and these are the little things that change football games.
FRITZ, McGREGOR. Well contained tonight, McGREGOR.
And watch for the field goal that Ellery Hanley alluded to.
Russell. 25 out. Centre of the ground, Dunn, the try scorer, the lone try scorer in this game.
Well, Simon has already been pointing to his forwards to take the ball to the centre. Here's Walsh taking it up. An ideal situation for him. Simon has moved to the blind. They are going to look to run it here.
Simon, first receiver on the blind side, kicks it twice. Mahon was equal to the task. OUDENRYN.
Well, here's the option taken on the final tackle. A left foot kick, a right foot kick. Scott Mahon in good position at fullback to take it out. Not the kind of kick really that John Simon was looking for.
There's some great football skills there, you know, some soccer skills, but I think they would have been better off advised that to get to the middle of the park and take the 1 point.
Chris King, Bill Greentree. That's Drake. Crowd here tonight, 10,876. And I would imagine that the Steelers would be very happy with that size crowd on a night like tonight.
Well, Ray, I suppose the beauty is that the Steelers really look after their fans. And if you have a look around at what they've got at this stadium now, it's a marvellous tribute to the people in charge here. The new stand, the club across the road on the corner. A lot of good things going to happen at this club, and if you look after your patrons, they will look after you.
Brett Docherty. Cameron Blair making the tackle on Docherty. Girdler goes for a scurry out from dummy half. Links up with Andrew Pauls. He scored a try in reserve grade. Simon, David Walsh, only goes one way, straight up. And he doesn't slacken off the accelerator either. SCHIFILLITI to play it. Simon's gone in to do the dummy half work. Russell looks to go right, but then comes back left. 5 gone for the Steelers now. They lead by 8 points to 2. What are we, midway through the second half? OUDENRYN. Dummy half is Scott Mahon. Obliged to go for the run from dummy half himself. PICCINELLI with the tackler. Cameron Blair gets away from Bill Dunn's attempted tackle. Wrapped up eventually by Walsh. Greentree sweeps it for O'Doherty now.
It looks like that Illawarra are quite content to just sit on the 6-point lead at the moment. I think that this game's a long way from over, and I think Parramatta, just with one score, can bring this game back to life again for themselves.
GALBRAITH plays it, Greentree gives it, and Kenny kicks it. Brett Docherty made to miss by the bounce of the ball, and from an onside position, Michael BUETTNER comes down the ground and makes the tackle.
That's a great chase from Michael BUETTNER, and we talked about the young players at the Parramatta club. I've said before, I think that he is one player destined for higher honours. And a player also up front who doesn't get many raps, but gee, I think he's an underestimated player is Greg Drake. Got tremendous skills, one of the strongest players I've seen on a football field, and he can use the football. I know that he's not that mobile, but if you keep him in the middle of the ruck, very effective.
In the last few plays, you would have just seen that Parramatta, as they've made the tackle, they haven't been standing square, and they've just want to watch themselves just carefully there.
Steve Roach.
Yeah, just on Greg Drake for Sturlo, he's a very good ball player. He's the only bloke in the Parramatta side that can stand in tackles and offload. And I think you'd be surprised at his tackle count too. He does a lot of tackles.
Well, I think the important thing, Blocker, is that he does a lot of tackles and he doesn't miss many. And for a big man, he reads things well. When he needs to move from marker, he does. When he needs to drift across, he does the simple and the little things well in this game, and does them effectively for a big man.
He's made 20 in the game so far. FEARNLEY. 9 hit-ups and 20 tackles for the number 10. Kenny. Short ball for Mahon, but the defence was waiting. That's the 32-metre line, you see. GALBRAITH. This time he's found the touchline. 32 out from his opponent's line.
Well, they didn't get a long kick in, but gee, that was a kick full of skill. He's actually turned to throw the ball to Brett Kenny. Saw that Kenny wasn't in position to do so as OUDENRYN leaves the field. Did a full pirouette and then kicked facing one way to come back to this sideline. So it was a fair kick in the end. That's the replacement player, Michael ERICKSON, player of plenty first-grade experience as well. But that is the loss out there, OUDENRYN, who has looked very dangerous on occasions.
Andrew Pauls coming in off the left wing to take the first pass. FRITZ. Saints and Penrith tomorrow night on Sunday Night League. Don't forget Wimbledon follows the final of the women's. Steffi Graf and Monica Seles. And then tomorrow night we go into the men's final. 5 tackles gone now. SCHIFILLITI, he kicks. Mahon elects to let it go. It went out on the full. That was a good play by Scott Mahon. He had a split second to make a decision. He made the right one.
Steve Roach on the sideline, do you get the feeling that the game may be swinging one way or another, or still very much open?
It's still very much in the balance. As long as there's a player by the name of Brett Kenny, who's just ignited them now, is involved in the game, I think anything can happen. They're only 6 points behind.
For you, is he getting involved enough?
No, not at the moment. I think he should get a bit more involved. But, you know, they're going along steadily, and they're not making many mistakes as they were earlier.
David Woods tries to make the break. A break that really hasn't been all that frequent for the Eels. 2 line breaks up against 6 in the first half. Kenny now.
Well, something that has been frequent for the Eels is injuries to David Woods. He's been very dangerous out there also. He's now limping in back plays. A mistake made by BUETTNER. He feels as though there was an Illawarra player interfering there. Well, he had every right to pick the football up.
I think if I was the captain of the Illawarra side, I think that once I'd got down into the 25-yard area, down in that field, I think that I'd find myself that I'd be trying to go for a field goal this time, because there's nothing much happening at the moment and the defences are still pretty tight.
Andrew Pauls. Steve Roach.
I think the problem with Illawarra is they've got too many shot callers. They've got SCHIFILLITI at halfback, John Simon, and also Ian Russell. I think they've got too many playmakers.
Penalty goes to the home side. Parramatta inside the 5 again. No doubts about it. Kelvin Jeffs was left with little decision to make, really. Brett Rodwell takes the line finder. And I can see David Woods over there. He's virtually a passenger at the moment. Bill Dunn takes it inside the 22. Good strong defence eventually by Parramatta. PICCINELLI. Knock on against Neil PICCINELLI. And this scrum will go down 15 away from the Parramatta line, but it'll be their feed and their loose head as David Woods leaves the field now.
And the replacement player as the scrum is won by Parramatta, and GALBRAITH makes it to the 22, is Tom Brown. Not quite sure what number jersey he's on, but he's played fullback. Well, he's in number 15 there. He has played fullback in first grade this season for the Parramatta team, so a couple of replacements now being forced in both teams.
FEARNLEY. GALBRAITH. Drake. Drake stands and keeps it alive. GALBRAITH is put down by PICCINELLI. ERICKSON in jumper 50 was the man that gave it to GALBRAITH. Now to Pat O'Doherty. Out on the right wing, Patrick. Brett Kenny to play it eventually. Mahon. Docherty getting underneath it. Real crowd pleaser is Brett Docherty.
Well, that's a great catch from Brett Docherty, but I can't understand why the Parramatta kicker is opting to get on the blind side of the ruck to try and kick the football. As Illawarra keep it alive, PICCINELLI taking it up the middle. It really nullifies just where you can kick the football, even though Mahon hit that one pretty sweetly.
That's right, Peter. I think one of the things what Parramatta have got to realise, they've got to stop throwing the ball to the blind side and trying on the last tackle, and the 6 out to try it and kick down the field. They've got to get to the middle of the park and then put the kick on.
Russell getting into a half break. John Cross spreads it for Fritz, further for Rodwell. Rodwell tries to get a pass round the corner. Pauls goes to the 22 line. Feeds it back for SCHIFILLITI, now for Simon. Simon's 15 metres away from the line. Will they go to the air? They do, off the boot of the hooker. Pressure here for Mahon. I think it's a try, is it?
Yes, it is.
I think it's a try.
Neil PICCINELLI.
Neil PICCINELLI gets a try.
Well, they put the kick up. SCHIFILLITI told everybody he was going to. He waved, pointed to the air. Kick from dummy half, which meant that everybody was onside. And as Ellery Hanley pointed out, that's a great thing to be able to do. Plenty of chasers there. Scott Mahon, the only Parramatta player, and PICCINELLI did very well to gather it in. Let's have a look at it from front on. A good kick landing right on the try line.
Yeah, I think that it was only a matter of time before Illawarra either went for the drop goal or went for the high kick, and something came up with some great hands there for him to take that ball.
Well, there's a question about it. Is it great hands? Does he have control of this? For mine, he doesn't.
I still think he forced the ball with downward pressure. Whether he had control or not, I'm not going to argue that with you.
Well, you've got to have control over a football to have downward pressure on it, surely, to score a try. Well, I don't know. It's one of those ones, but well, it could have gone either way, couldn't it?
Well, yeah, it could have gone either way, Peter. But I still think that he's got the 4 points, and he'll probably attach another 2 more to this.
12 points to 2 anyway is the score. Ryan Girdler with the attempt at conversion. He adds a further 2 points. And now the Steelers lead by 14 points to 2 after 66 minutes. Michael BUETTNER gets us going again now.
I think you'll find that the course of this game will completely change now. Illawarra will be quite content with that sort of like 10-point, 12-point lead, and you'll just see them go through for the next 10 minutes just coasting through.
Well, that's a very dumb mistake made by Parramatta there, kicking the ball out on the full. Well done by John Cross, and again, a bad mistake here from Parramatta. They're getting themselves in a hole blocker.
Yeah, they certainly are. They're making far too many errors at the moment, but it must be a very good Illawarra side that can leave Neil PICCINELLI out. He's got a very good work rate, and I think he's a very good player.
I think you'll find that Parramatta in a no-win situation here, and that they really haven't got a lot to play for. I mean, they're languishing down at the bottom of the league, and Illawarra have got everything to play for, so everything they do now, you'll find that it'll come off.
David Walsh, he plays the ball 15 metres out from the line.
Well, I know that Parramatta will hang in here, but I'm sure that Illawarra would look for a field goal in this situation to put them 13 clear. There's the second man pass to John Cross. He's nearly gone straight through, so maybe a try's in the offing.
He was looking for try number 8 for the season. They run decoys on the angle. There's another try. That's 2 for the night for Billy Dunn. Oh, we'll think it's Christmas. 2 tries for Bill Dunn.
A smart crisscross play played here by Illawarra. A couple of defenders certainly caught out by that play. Paul McGREGOR was the man coming back across, and he's getting the congratulations from the try scorer. 18 points to 2. It's all over now. Here we see McGREGOR coming back. Chris King got caught in no man's land, and Cameron Blair was the man who did not come in from the outside. We'll see it better from front on.
I think you'll see a good try here and a good work plan move here. But I think it started way back when Parramatta kicked off, and they found themselves on the defence right back in their own 25-yard area. I think it was a case of that Parramatta realised that the ball game was all over for them, and that they had nothing to play for.
Well, I can go along with that to the extent that you might make a mistake with a kick-off if you're trying to kick one short, or if you're trying to kick it very long. That ball actually went out on about the 22-metre line, so it was just a poor kick.
Ryan Girdler, 3 out of 6. And this is a real presentation for him. From right in front, he stretches it out for Illawarra. They lead by 20 points to 2. 69 minutes gone.
Well, they're starting to look very confident now, Illawarra Ray, running the football, starting to put on those little plays behind the ruck area. And certainly SCHIFILLITI is starting to stamp his authority on this game, as we're joined once again by Steve Waddell out there in the number 8 for Illawarra. But he's directed things very well, SCHIFILLITI, from the hooker position, and I know we've spoken about it before, but it's a tough situation for him being a Queenslander and having a couple of good ones in front of him.
Russell. Steve Waddell making yards. He actually ran past the ad line and still had 5 metres to go. Bill Dunn. Little ball there for SCHIFILLITI. Waddell's with it now. Halfway line. Russell, always scheming, always probing.
Well,
this is a tough call.
It is a tough call. I thought the ball was propelled backwards here by the Parramatta hand in the way, and he was not in an offside position. Ellery points out when things are going well, they continue to. There's Blair touching the ball. How can that have gone forward to Danny CRNKOVICH? I'll never know.
That is a tough call.
Well, it's a tough call, 20-2 down, and things not going well when you've got to come up with another set of 6 on your 22-metre line now.
It's the same old story. Once you've got your nose in front of you, 12 points, 18 points, 18 points really in front, everything seems to click on for you, and you just seem to go from strength to strength. You seem to find the energy to run that extra harder and to make the yardage.
Oh, Billy Dunn was looking for the treble. Now it's gone for Neil Pincinelli to put down. Pat O'Doherty will play it. Chris King. Ten metres out from their own line. It's all uphill for Parramatta. Steelers have really asserted their authority in the second half. Maybe the word is superiority.
Well, with 10 minutes to go, Ray, Parramatta do have to try a few things, but they still can't afford to make silly mistakes in their own 22. That's a good run from Cameron Blair. So they've just got to take the hard yards here, try and kick the football and get field position and then force a mistake.
O'Doherty brought down on 5. Mahon. Doherty comes across, 32 out from his own line, and BUETTNER makes the tackle with Greentree. Russell's wide. GIRDLER goes inside decoy. McGREGOR goes outside. He pushes away from Tom Brown. Russell cleans up, but the referee has already called it.
You can certainly say Brett Douglas has earned his money out there. He played in the reserve side, and you know he's almost played the full game again of the first grade side.
Gee, that's very good work there from John Fearnley, the front rower, to get across in cover defence on Paul McGREGOR. He beat Tom Brown, but the front rower got across and saved the situation.
Brett Kenny across, trying to link up with Danny CRNKOVICH, which he does. 10-5 the scrums to Parramatta. But all that means is that they fed the ball twice as many times as Illawarra. Nothing against the head. O'Doherty. GALBRAITH. Drake. It's a grind now for the big men. There's the ball popping out, and he's going to put a scrum down.
Well, a little bit fortunate there, SCHIFILLITI, I think. From up here, it looked as though his hand was involved there, and with the penalties given, well, I think it was raked out. I might be a bit biased, but we've seen worse ones pulled up.
Why would you be biased?
Well, I want a good flowing game now, Ray. 20 points to 2. Illawarra really on a roll now. And this man, I think, has been the best player out there. He's certainly given the defence many headaches, busted them out wide, and then he's come looking in the middle of the ruck to do the same. So he's had a great game tonight, Brett Rodwell.
As Dale Fritz is tackled, it's a sideline comment from the big fella.
Yeah, although the score is 20 points to 2, you've got to take your hats off to Parramatta. You know, they've tried hard in this game, and got to give special mention to Cameron Blair. I think he's had a mighty game for the Eels.
John Simon.
Steve, looking at this performance tonight, I know that there's still 7 or 8 weeks to go in this competition. Are we watching an Illawarra team capable of being in the semi-finals?
Well, I'm sure that they're going to be somewhere in the semi-finals, but I've got my doubts whether they can win the comp, if you're asking me that.
John Simon went for an unsuccessful shot at drop goal. Michael ERICKSON has now got the task of bringing it away, but Illawarra are inside the 10, so it's a penalty to Parramatta. Are you saying, Steve Roach, that some of that early season momentum has dropped off for Illawarra?
Well, it certainly has, you know. I mean, you've only got to look over the last couple of weeks. They've been beaten by Balmain and I think it was North Sydney. So, you know, they're getting back on the rails tonight. So, you know, they're going to have to look forward to the next 7 or 8 games. I don't know how many's left.
Well, somebody thought from Illawarra that he was getting 10 minutes in the sin bin when really the referee, Kelvin Jeffs, was signalling that he'd come inside the 10 metres from the kick. He thought that Michael ERICKSON had touched the football, so he came in for the tackle. But when the 10 figures went up, I think he started to turn towards the sheds.
Maybe he had a guilty conscience.
Or maybe the Parramatta players were telling him that's what it was.
Here's Kenny trying to work it away for Mahon. Back now for BUETTNER and across for Blair. But they've lost it. The Steelers will probably spread the ball on the first tackle here. 32 metres out, they need a quick play the ball. Too slow, really. Pincinelli. Chris King. Replaced by Mark HORO. who's involved in this tackle on Ian Russell. Dale FRITZ across for McGREGOR, gets outside. Mahon tries to get outside the winger on the far side, and that's where he comes unstuck and goes into touch.
A poor miss there from Scott Mahon in defence. Unfortunately, Brett Kenny read it well coming across in cover defence. McGREGOR les the big step a couple of times. Kenny, with Tom Brown, takes the man over the sideline.
Full time, not that far away. Kenny runs it out, runs an angle, but it was a decoy run for Mahon, and Kenny takes the tackle. GALBRAITH away for Pat O'Doherty. Kenny, halfway through the hole. Steve Waddell shuts it down.
You've got to admire Brett Kenny. I mean, he's never stopped trying, and in a beaten side, you know, it's always hard to do that, to keep on trying and keep the enthusiasm there running in the side.
Especially when you're so old.
FEARNLEY.
I'm sure you're referring to yourself, Peter, nobody else.
The last tackle here for Parramatta, and goes back to Scott Mahon. The kicking game hasn't been that effective. Certainly their kickers have been under pressure. Well, there's some good work from balls. People had no idea where the ball was, and a good chase there from Parramatta. We now come into the final 5 minutes.
RODWELL takes it out and runs into the referee. Comes out the other side. Tremendous run by Brett RODWELL. Parramatta's defence, it was all over the place. It was in a zigzag formation. McGREGOR. BUETTNER on McGREGOR. 32 metres out from the line. PICCINELLI. Russell turning away from Bill Dunn. Running into a gap. Looks outside. Finds support, and John Cross goes in for try number 8.
Well, fatigue starting to set in the Parramatta team, and just a clean miss once again there from Cameron Blair. We've seen a couple of those in defence from Parramatta. Scott Mahon and Cameron Blair has come up with one there, allowed Ian Russell to run straight through. Here we see it, Russell 2 passes wide, a couple of little jinks, and there just fell off the tackle, the number 13, Cameron Blair. A good selective ball there to John Cross, always backing up, and a very good try there by one of the fastest back rowers in the game, although he didn't have to use much speed there, Ellery, to score the try.
Yeah, that's right, but I think Ian Russell made the try, started the try, and he just made it easy for him just to stretch over.
His 8th try of the season for John Cross. Only a youngster, and I take it that he's leading the side during the second half with no Alan McINDOE.
And I still have visions of him this season, Ray, running down Rex Turk from the St George club.
What a play that was. Now Ryan GIRDLER's got the attempted conversion. 25 out and 5 in from touch. Useful appearance. Strikes it sweetly. It's just wide. Grazing across the face of the uprights. 24-2 and not long to go. So this crowd of 10,876, minus the Parramatta fans that have made the journey down here, well satisfied with their team's performance. They looked the better in the first half, and they put the seal on that in the second half with a bag full of, how many? 4 tries. Waddell. Siren in the background. Russell takes it up for the final tackle of the game, and Illawarra has defeated Parramatta and firmly kept their semi-final aspirations alive. 24 points to 2, the final scoreline. We'll be back here at the Steelers Stadium to wrap it all up in just a moment.
Tries for the home team in the second half. Our MMI man of the match, great game, didn't score a try, goes to the centre for Illawarra, Brett RODWELL. A real handful for the Eels all night. They certainly didn't contain him that well in defence. Footy tab operating on tonight. Pick the score, 24 points to 2. The scoreline, $363.30. And a very congested table still. Today's game's highlighted there. Illawarra's 2 points, very important, leapfrogging both East and Penrith to move into second spot. Incredibly important round of football to be completed in round 14 tomorrow. Norths take on the Gold Coast at North Sydney Oval. Souths and Canberra at the Sydney Football Stadium. Brisbane and Easts up at Lang Park. Cronulla and Balmain at Caltex.